Welcome to Be Well. I'm Lisa Bragaw, pharmacist, yoga teacher, and health coach. Each week, we'll explore simple, science-informed ways for us to move better, feel more resilient, and feel more at home in our bodies. From breath work and strength training to sleep, hormones, and healthy habits, we're here to help you age well and truly thrive, one small step at a time. This is Be Well. Hi, it's Lisa Bragaw from Zen & Now, and I am here with another episode of Be Well. Today we're going to talk about getting better sleep and deep rest and the benefits of that in maintaining our wellness and level of energy, especially in the wintertime. I find that the days are short and the nights are longer, and our energy may kind of be a little bit sluggish because it's harder to get outside and move our bodies. So I'd like to chat a little bit about why we sleep and the stages of sleep, as well as some ways to get better sleep. And if you don't get enough sleep, how you can at least feel rested. So that's our plan for today. And I hope that you walk away with some great tips that will help you to be well. So we don't know really why we sleep. Sleep is something that is elusive to us, and there's more and more research being done all the time about the benefits of sleep. I know, for many, many years, I've really prided myself on not needing much sleep. In fact, I probably worked, I think I've worked 3 jobs since I was 16. And I really prided myself on being able to stay up late and get up early and get all the things done and burning my candles at both ends. And I learned that doesn't really suit me at all. In fact, it can actually really be detrimental to every aspect of our life. So again, sleep, we don't really understand why we sleep as human beings. It's an opportunity for us to be, vulnerable. So as far as Mother Nature goes, we don't know why that's something that is part of our daily routine, that we are put in a vulnerable state where we, if we were still out in the wild, that we could be, at risk for predators. So sleep is something that we don't understand why, but we believe that it is something that is obviously very, very important to our survival. And sleep affects every single system, or lack of sleep affects every single system in our bodies, from our mood and our energy levels to our weight and our cardiovascular system. It really does affect everything. And so again, we don't really understand the reasons that we sleep, but we are starting to really understand the benefits of getting good sleep. From everything from immune system, flushing out toxins in our brain. We're starting to find that when we get good sleep, that we're flushing. It's like the rinse cycle. When you sleep, it's like the rinse cycle and flushing out toxins of the brain, including amyloid bodies, which are a big part of Alzheimer's disease. So more and more research is being done with preventing and treating dementia and Alzheimer's, which is near and dear to my heart, because I've seen family members that have suffered through that. So if we could eliminate that or reduce the symptoms of that, that would be wonderful. So again, when we sleep, we flush things out. We also, it's like refiling and resetting things. It helps us to store memories and to process and problem solve. So getting good sleep is really, really important. And I feel like it's more and more acceptable now to get good rest and to prioritize your self-care. So if you're struggling with sleep, I hope this episode really helps you too. So just a little overview of what our sleep looks like. We have different stages of our sleep, and it changes throughout the evening when we sleep. So a typical night's sleep, each sleep cycle consists of about a 90-minute cycle. And that changes, everybody's a little bit different, but about 4 or 5 90-minute cycles that we go through. We start with just kind of a light sleep going into non-REM sleep. So we have 3, some people categorize 4 different stages of non-REM or NREM sleep. Rapid eye movement is REM, and that's where we dream. So that's the extra stage as well. So we have non-sleep, 3, some categories as 4 different stages of non-REM sleep. And that tends to be kind of front-loaded at the beginning of our sleep cycles, at the the earlier parts of the evening into the middle of the night. And more of the REM sleep, where we have more lucid dreaming, happens closer to the morning time. So if you are missing hours of sleep, whether it's having trouble falling asleep or waking up early, it can really affect your sleep depending on which stages that your body is missing or your brain is missing. So again, we've got all these different levels to it. These 4 to 5 different cycles of 90 minutes is really interesting as well, because you fall into that sleep when you get through that 90-minute cycle or so. Sometimes you wake up, and that's fine as long as you're falling right back to sleep. But some people, they wake up in between those stages and then they have trouble falling asleep. And sometimes that could be for, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, but maybe it could be for an hour or 2 hours. So figuring out what to do when that happens is something I'd like to talk about today, as well as falling asleep and staying asleep or waking up kindly to your body. So again, these cycles of sleep, these 90-minute cycles of sleep, every time we get through one of those cycles, it starts again. The problem with waking in the middle of a cycle can make us pretty groggy, because if you get woken up in the middle of that 90-minute cycle, it can really affect your day. And that's where I would recommend not using the snooze alarm. So I don't know about you. I used to hit that snooze alarm over and over and over and over again. I would set the alarm early and I would hit snooze, and I didn't feel like getting out of bed, and I'd hit snooze. And if you've ever done that and not hit the snooze button but didn't get up, how much later did you actually wake up? Most often it's like 90 minutes later and you're like, what happened? How come I got up 90 minutes? I went back to sleep. I didn't even know I went back to sleep. And it's because you re-entered one of those sleep cycles. If we wake up in the middle of that sleep cycle, it can make us feel really groggy or just logy and foggy and just exhausted, even though you may have on paper gotten a full night's sleep, right? But you got woken up in the middle of a sleep cycle. So if you do use an alarm, avoiding that snooze button is really important. And that might mean that you set your alarm a little bit early and give yourself some time to just gently wake up. Ideally, waking up without an alarm would be wonderful, but that's really hard in our modern schedules to do that. So if you do have to wake up to an alarm, I would recommend an alarm that maybe is gentle and softer. Sometimes just that glaring alarm can be very traumatic. Sometimes it's very jarring to be woken up with a really loud alarm. I have an alarm that is like a light that slowly gets brighter and brighter and brighter, mimicking the sunrise. And if I don't wake up by the time it gets to a certain brightness, it will have a little bit of a low alarm sound, and then slowly it gets a little bit louder and a little bit louder. So that is a really gentle way to wake up, which I really like. I also put my phone in another room, and I do wear a smartwatch that I track my sleep in. I don't use it every night, but I use it on the days I do need to wake up early, and I set my alarm on my phone, which I do keep in another room, and I'll explain why in a moment, but I keep my phone in another room, and then my watch will start to vibrate early in the morning when my alarm goes off, and there's just a much gentler way for me to wake up anyway. So alarms are wonderful, and they keep us on time, and they help us to get where we need to go. If we wake up in a jarred state and kind of stressed out to begin with, then it's just really going to throw our whole system off, right? So falling asleep is tricky for many people. And there's a lot of reasons that can be. It can be we're not getting enough sunlight early in the day. It could be that we're not getting enough movement during the day. It could be we had too much stimulants throughout the day, or our schedules are just kind of chaotic. It can also be that blue light from our phones and from our devices, our TVs and things like that. So good sleep hygiene is really important. Creating a nighttime routine that works for you is also very important, and I would really recommend starting with tiny little habits, little stackable habits that you can do, creating a nighttime routine that's just kind of a wind down. It might be unrealistic for you to get off your computer earlier, but if you can, that would be something that would be really helpful. If you're not able to get off a computer or screen early, using blue light glasses can be really helpful. The blue light that's emitted from our computers and our telephones and all the screens can really affect our sleep. Using them early in the day isn't as detrimental as far as energy levels go anyway. So just kind of creating a nice evening routine, a wind down time where you turn off your computers, you turn off your devices. If you do want to watch the news or you watch any kind of social media or TV that is a little more either energizing or upsetting or, you know, just disturbing to you, I would use that as recreational fun, if you want to call it fun, earlier in the day, and then and try to avoid that at night. Let your first thing in the morning time and your last thing at night time be really sacred time for you, because you're precious, and it's important that you maintain that little container for you, the beginning of the day, the end of the day. Let that be precious time. That's all yours. Another thing that I think about is when you first wake up in the morning, if you get right on social media, or last thing at night, if you're on your phone or your computer, it's like having those thousands of people in your bedroom. Do you want all those people in bed with you? Do you want all those people in your bedroom disturbing your peace? So if you turn off your social media, if you turn off the news, if you turn off your emails and put them in another room, let that bedroom be sacred space for you. In fact, part of sleep hygiene is to use your bedroom for two things, for sleep and for sex, and that's it. If you find that you're waking up in the middle of the night and you need to go do something else, it's really recommended that you leave your room or find a different space in your room off of your bed, and then maybe you read there, or you meditate, or you do some breathing exercises or other things that may help bring you some peace so that you can fall back asleep. And that's, again, just some little tips of good sleep hygiene. Trying to go to bed at the same time every day is really helpful. Trying to wake up at the same time every day can also be very helpful. And creating this just routine that works for your schedule. And again, things are different every day. I know some days I teach really early in the morning, so I have to get up really early. I try to still get up pretty early on the days I don't have to get up quite as early, just to maintain that daily schedule. So some people like to take a warm shower before they go to bed, and maybe listen to some gentle music. Again, trying to just tone it down a little bit and unwind before you go to bed. Reading before bed can be really helpful for some people, and for other people it can be like very stimulating. So you have to find what works for you. I do find that practicing gratitude at the beginning and the end of the day is very, very helpful, and there's tons of studies that show the benefits of that. If you go to bed at night and you just think of a couple things that you're grateful for, and just give yourself a few moments, maybe with your hands over your heart, that stimulates the vagus nerve, which kind of simmers down our nervous system. That can be a really lovely thing just for yourself, just a little self-soothing, really easy technique. Put your hands over your heart, take a few belly breaths, and think of 3 things you're grateful for. It'll take you no time at all, and it might really help. The last things we think about before bed, we kind of maybe perseverate on as we sleep. So if we're thinking about our worries and all the things we didn't do and all the things we have to do tomorrow, that could just really amp us up and really affect our sleep. You could keep a journal next to your bed, maybe 2 journals. One could be a worry journal or a to-do journal, where you wake up in the middle of the night and you think of, oh, I forgot to do this, or I can't forget, I have to do that tomorrow. And jot it down and get it out of your head, put it on that piece of paper so you don't have to worry about it anymore. You can go back to sleep, and you know what's waiting for you when you wake up in the morning, and it's kind of off the plate for now. So keeping a journal at the end of the day of how the day went, just get the ideas out of your head, how you felt, what went well, what were the challenges, how did you overcome them. It doesn't have to be a really long experience. It could be 3 lines. It could be, again, 3 things that you're grateful for. So make things simple to start and build upon that. Just like before you go to bed, you might brush your teeth, wash your face, take your contacts out, adding a couple other little tiny things that might nourish you and help you to fall asleep and let your quality of sleep be a little bit better. Another thing I do before I go to sleep just so that I can wake up in the morning and not feel rushed, is I lay out my clothes for the next day. So if I know I'm teaching yoga in the morning, I'll put out my yoga outfit. I make sure my cup of tea is sitting on the counter, and just the cup and a tea bag, ready to go, get that ready for the morning. And I don't know why it makes such a difference. If you pick your clothes out the night before, it just seems to save so much time in the morning. It takes me 3 seconds to put them out at night. But in the morning, if I'm scrambling looking for clothes, I feel like it takes me 10 minutes. I'm not really sure why, but I know it's much simpler if I have it all laid out. Also, if you're trying to create new routines, like you want to exercise in the morning, having your workout clothes laid out for you the night before, you see them, and it's a reminder that you've made that commitment to yourself, and you're more likely to follow through on that. So that's just another little tip that could be really helpful for you too. Some other things that you can do that are very simple, again, is breathing. Breath is the best tool we have. We have it with us all the time. It's free, and it's just remembering to use it. You can breathe all your life and never pay attention to your breath. If you pay attention to your breath, it can bring you into the moment. It can make you more focused. It can get you out of those spiraling thoughts. So I'd like to just go through a couple breathing exercises. I'm not going to do too much because if you're listening to this while you're driving or if you're busy, I want you to stay focused on what you're doing, but just so you have a couple little tips of ways that you can incorporate breath. I do have a YouTube channel as well that has some breathing exercises on it. So if you're looking for some free resources on breathing exercises, you can go to the Zen and Now YouTube channel. Belly breathing is one of the best ways to calm your nervous system quickly. I will say though, it sometimes is challenging, especially if we're sitting up, because when we're sitting up, we're trying to like hold ourselves upright, and we need our core to hold us upright. So you might want to practice this lying down first. When I learned how to belly breathe, my chiropractor taught me, and it took, I think, 3 sessions with her, because she kept saying, breathe into your belly, breathe deep into your belly. And I was going, and I was sucking my belly in and breathing high up into my collarbones. And I wasn't getting relaxed at all. In fact, if you just breathe into your collarbones, it stimulates your nervous system, your sympathetic nervous system, your cortisol goes up, your stress response goes up, and it makes us more energized and more anxious. If we breathe to our diaphragm, it's a neutral response. If we can breathe deep into the belly, it kind of strums that vagus nerve and calms the body down. So it's toning our parasympathetic nervous system. Our sympathetic nervous system and our parasympathetic nervous system are 2 parts of our autonomic nervous system. Our rest and digest, calm and connect is the parasympathetic side. The sympathetic nervous system is that stress response. We want our stress response to work when we need it to. Sometimes it's on overdrive. I think in our culture, oftentimes it's on overdrive. So toning our parasympathetic nervous system, any way we can do that is going to really help benefit every part of your wellness, especially your sleep. Placing your hands over your heart again stimulates the vagus nerve, slows the heart rate, lowers the blood pressure, calms the nervous system. That vagus nerve innervates all of your internal organs, goes from your head all the way down to your tailbone and weaves all in between. 80% of those nerve fibers respond back to the brain, telling the brain what's going on in the body. If we calm that down, it lets the brain know we're safe and lets the brain say, all is well, and then the nervous system can tone down and let you relax. Belly breathing, again, if you breathe into your belly expands because your lungs fill low, and then it pushes the abdominal contents out of the way just from that extra pressure. So if you want to play with that, I recommend lying down to try it, because then you don't have to worry about holding yourself up and engaging your belly muscles. Because I'm sitting here in a chair, I'm going to show you seated. You can place your hands on your belly, or one on your belly and one on your heart. Your hand on your heart may move a little bit. Your ribs may expand a little bit. The goal is really trying to bring the air low into the lungs so that the belly can expand and contract. And it's not so much about like a hard, deep breath. It's more of a low, slow breath. A little trick here is if you were to imagine saying the sound sa, S-A, and you have to imagine it because if you say it out loud, you'd be exhaling. If you imagine saying sa, your throat kind of dilates, your lungs kind of dilate, and it almost pulls the air in like a straw, almost like a vacuum, and you don't have to work for it. So we're already telling the nervous system, okay, we're slowing things down. We're not working hard anymore right now. We're relaxing. So if you sip the air in through your nose, draw it low into your lungs, you'll feel your belly expand, and you might start to feel the ribs expand a little bit. Not so much up here along the collarbones, again, where that stress starts to amp up. And then exhale and let the air just come out. You don't even have to help it out. It will come out all on its own. So if you inhale, pretend to say sa. And exhale, you can say ha out loud or pretend to say the sound ha, H-A. So inhale sa. Exhale ha. And the ha can be with a sigh, the ha can be out through your nose. Nasal breathing is also really helpful, and that's something to work on while you're awake. If you are a mouth breather, it does affect your sleep. That's something for a whole topic for another day, because we only have so much time today. Practicing that sa-ha breathing during the day, maybe first thing when you wake up or a couple times throughout the day, will make it more easier to do when you are sleeping. That's just a couple breaths. Put your hands over your heart, take a couple belly breaths. Do that first thing in the morning, last thing before you go to bed, and watch how it just settles things down. I love doing this. When I go for like my doctor's appointment, they'll put on that pulse oximeter, right? The thing that measures your oxygen and your heart rate, that little clamp that goes on your finger. If you sit there and just take a couple of those slow, low breaths like that, you'll watch the oxygen saturation go up and you'll watch your heart rate go down. And you can see it in just a couple breaths. It's really fast and it's that effective. It's free. You have it with you all the time. So that's something, if you want to practice, go ahead and practice that. You can practice that probably while you're driving because your eyes are open. Any of these breath practices you can practice lying down to start, to get that coordination. Once you feel like you've got it, you can sit up. And again, you have to engage your belly just enough to sit up. Another nice breath is to calm you and relax you, is to breathe in for like 4 counts and then breathe out for 8. If you exhale longer than your inhale, then it settles the nervous system as well. It tones the parasympathetic nervous system and it settles down the sympathetic nervous system, bringing more harmony into the body. And I would never say, I don't use balance very often, the word balance in our nervous system, because it's usually not 50-50, right? There's times when we're gonna need our sympathetic nervous system to be on, we need to be awake, we need to get things done. And there's time when we need to let it settle down. So using these tools and learning these tools to find ways to settle down when you need to is a really great thing to add to your toolbox. So inhaling for 4 counts, exhaling for 8 counts, or 1 count more than your inhale if that's not accessible to you. I like to use my heartbeat when I inhale. Some people can sense their heartbeat very easily, other people don't. You can just count. It can just be a nice metronome. The reason I like to focus on my heartbeat is because it kind of brings me into my body and gets me out of my head. So inhaling 4 and then exhaling for 8, and it's at your count. So you can count it yourself. You can just say 1, 2, 3, 4. You can count it slower. You can let your heart rate work for you. That is another way to settle down and to just calm the body. There's a breath exercise I like to use a lot in yoga, and it's called alternate nostril breathing. And it's a little kind of confusing to configure, so I'm going to break it down really quickly here. Again, I've got a video that breaks it down a little bit more on the Zen and Now YouTube channel, but you inhale through one side of your nostril, one nostril, you close that nostril, you exhale through the other. You inhale through the other nostril, you close the other nostril off, and you exhale through the first nostril. The right side of our body is the sympathetic side, the solar side, masculine archetype energy, the get it done, like go, 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 fiery solar energy. The left side of our body is our lunar energy, our cooler, our calming, the yin energy, the feminine archetype energy. Whether you're male or female, we have both energies. One's going to be a little bit more go, 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 get things done. One's going to be a little more calm things down. We want them to work really well in harmony so we can get things done in a nice, calm, peaceful way. If you breathe in and out, that creates balance. So that alternate nostril breathing creates balance between those two systems. Not perfect balance, but more balance or harmony is like I like to say. When you're doing that breathing, you might find that one nostril is more blocked than the other. And this is really interesting because every 90 minutes that shifts. So you might find that breathing in and out through your right nostril is almost impossible. And then you do this breath a few times and it opens back up. And you might find the opposite with the left nostril. So with this breathing exercise, you breathe in, you breathe out, and you take your peace fingers and you kind of place them in your palm. Some people like to rest them on their third eye or rest them on the bridge of their nose. You take your right thumb. I'm going to do this. I'm going to mirror this for you. So you're going to take your right thumb and plug your right nostril. And then you breathe in. You're going to breathe out through your left nostril. You're going to breathe in through your left nostril. Use your ring finger to close your left nostril. Let go with your thumb and exhale through your right nostril. Inhale through your right nostril. Close your nostrils. Let go of your ring finger. Exhale through the other side. We switch on the exhale. Inhale through that side. Close your nostril. Release your thumb. Exhale through the first side. And so you continue to do that. You might find your nose starts to run a little bit. I like to recommend blowing your nose before and then after doing that exercise, because again, that can bring a little bit more harmony into your body, a little more smoothness into the body. Some very simple breathing exercises that you can incorporate into your day. Another interesting thing, like I said, is one side tends to be blocked more than the other, and that switches throughout the day. Again, about every 90 minutes, our body is on these really interesting cycles. If you wake up in the middle of the night, kind of check in, which side is blocked? If you find the left side is blocked, again, that's the soothing, calming side, close your right nostril. Breathe in and out through the left a few times and just see if that calms things down. Oftentimes I'll do that and I will fall right back to sleep in just a couple breaths. And then if it's, you can also just do alternate nostril and bring it back into harmony. So those are some just really simple, easy breath exercises. That's the most confusing one, the alternate nostril. I guess the takeaway from that one is if you wake up in the middle of the night and your left nostril is blocked, close your right nostril, try to open your left nostril up and bring back that calming, soothing, parasympathetic response into your night. Again, keeping a journal by your bed is really important or really helpful. Writing down your worries, writing down the things you have to do the next day, put it on paper, put it aside. It will be there waiting for you and you don't have to remember it. It'll be there, don't worry about it. Writing down what you're grateful for can be really helpful as well. Trying to get a good night's sleep benefits every single aspect of your body. It affects our mood, it affects our sleep, it affects our cognition. If we have a bad night's sleep, it is exhausting. Studies have shown that people score poor on cognition tests, on reaction time, and it can just take one bad night of sleep. You might have remembered that if you ever pulled an all-nighter in school and you just feel like just blah. We can feel snappy if we don't sleep enough, and we just react. We react, we don't respond. So I'm going to encourage you to try some of these little tips and incorporate them into your nightly routine. Create a nightly routine if you don't have one. Give yourself lots of grace. Do your best. Breathe. I didn't even talk about caffeine. So if you drink a lot of caffeine early in the day, the half-life of caffeine is like 10 to 12 hours for some people. So figuring out what your limit is, if you have caffeine early in the day, maybe that's great. If you have caffeine late in the day and it affects your sleep, not so great. Alcohol makes us fall asleep, but it really disrupts our sleep. So we don't get those cycles of the non-REM and the REM sleep. So whatever helps you to feel better, get a better night's sleep, you're gonna feel better all throughout the day. Setting the tone at night will set you up for a great next day. Creating these little tiny healthy habits are really, really easy, simple, if we add them to things we're already doing. You're already brushing your teeth, maybe put on some soothing music. You're getting ready for bed, just take a nice warm shower. Make sure your bed's comfy, your room is dark, maybe use an eye mask, get technology and lights out of your room, and sleep well. And I hope this helped and that you took at least one little thing that you can incorporate into your world, into your life, and make your sleep a little bit better tonight. And if you have a bad night's sleep, no worries. Try again, keep building on those habits, and be well. Thank you for joining me on Be Well. I hope today's conversation inspires at least one simple way for you to support yourself.
Before you step back into your day, pause and choose one uplifting action you can gift yourself. What's your one thing going to be? Remember, small, consistent steps create meaningful change. Until next time, take a breath, take care, and be well.